If we attain our goal, then these students will become more successful learners and less frustrated with the SRF learning experience. And the same holds true of the students involved, of which I'm a board member. The end goal, of course, is to make our instructional program more effective. So I wanted to speak to that. I am proud of the budget, and when Mr. Farmer was in our meetings, he did ask some questions, where we'll be using these additional resources. He pointed out, correctly so, the low teacher to student ratio. However, if you look at these two grade levels, 19 third graders, student achievement gaps all over the map. Same thing with the fourth graders. That's where we really need to hone in. Not to say that we don't have work to do in some of the other grade levels, because you could have a class of 8 with 5 or 6 different achievement gaps within those 8 students. You could have a class of 19 where there might not be as much of a discrepancy in student achievement gaps. But it was a good question to pose. But I just wanted you to know that we do have a bubble in those 2 classes, which is a good thing. I think to have those numbers. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Zulu.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Walbridge. So I put together a presentation that works around the curriculum instruction focused on for the year, recognizing the questions that came up in the budget cycle in meetings. Our district goal that I walked into when I was here was to establish a guaranteed and viable curriculum that reflected the current New York State Next Generation standards. And I can say across all areas, with the exception of the Character Ed program, we've done that. And the way we've gone about doing that is with the COVID funding, there was the purchase of a math program that had been reviewed across several grade levels for years. There was also the integration and purchase of a reading program that corresponded with the pre-K to grade 2 Super Kids program. Now, programs are one piece. It's the instruction around the programs that's the second. And we've been fortunate to have the support of our colleagues at BOCES who come in and helped us with starting to document what the curriculum program said the time frame in order for those programs should be. And so that curriculum mapping, which I feel like got a really bad reputation when I was a teacher, has been an instrumental piece that we've focused on this year. And we've had our partners from BOCES documenting consensus maps that had grown out of what was known as the Story of Standards work. And that work has teachers looking at the standards for their grade level from New York State, working them and making that connection between the standards and the materials with which they can use to teach standards. We've also implemented a process for the teachers to meet with the BOCES colleagues. So every teacher of core content, as well as in grades pre-K all the way up through 12, has one meeting date per month with either Stacy or Alex. Some meet for multiple dates. And that was established November, December. So there was a set time, for example, the 3rd Tuesday of every month, where teachers can go meet and work with those colleagues. And the benefit I found, like I love curriculum and instruction, so I was a little like, oh, what are they gonna do? It's a great place for Stacy and Alex to work through some challenges with the staff that they're having, as well as to talk through some of the strengths that exist. And they've been a collaborative partner with me as we've worked at planning professional development around the data-driven instruction pieces. And that's the first key, because we can have all this data and all these things. If we don't allocate time toward meeting and set aside time for our teachers to meet with people who can expertly help them, we miss that whole piece. So that's something that's been going on. I'm just gonna talk from so here we've got a cycle that looks at the curriculum, the instruction, and the assessment. That would go back a slide. I don't think we're to big wins yet. Anyway, so we're working toward the guaranteed and viable curriculum. The curriculum is what we want students to learn, the instructions, how we want them to learn, and the assessment is how we measure the students are on progress to learn it. Don't worry, we're about to be there. Okay. This is probably good. I've been presenting all afternoon, so this is a breath of fresh air. And one of the things we've been doing is when our teachers meet, it's not just like meeting and talking. They're working in a program called Atlas, as well as preserving the documents they've created in Google Drive, which will focus on sustainability of the work that has happened. Our special education teachers are working to integrate their differentiation pieces and how they're supporting students with the work. So one of the big visions and goals is to have everybody working together moving forward on these items. I know we met last week for half days. Our elementary school started pre-K 2, then expanded to pre-K up to grade 6. And they set 3 main goals. One was around the materials in use. Another was around an instructional method. And the third was around, I cannot remember the third right now, around working together and keeping track of future items for the group as a whole. And the benefit to this is that as a kid moves from one space to another, it'll be consistent. So as we look at the big wins, the teachers have been invested in working at creating and implementing the items. We're using an approach that's called Understanding by Design. It's a framework for developing curriculum. And we're using that approach in practice. We haven't given it a name and said to them, oh, you're doing Understanding by Design. But we are back mapping it throughout. And we're doing that to help everybody get in a similar cycle so they can lean into each other with respect to this work. We've also been into files from different places into Google Drive, where we have shared drive in the materials. And that way, if there's transition, or even if the 7th grade math teacher wants to know what the grade math teacher is using, those items are in there and accessible for them. The pieces of this is it's raised the level of content rigor and relevance as tasks are happening. So I hear in my second round of observations, teachers explicitly indicating standards, people explicitly like using the terminology, as a student, I'm going to see from you, and that helps the child know what's expected of them. So those are all really great things. Some of the challenges have been going through the different learning expectations and sense making. We do have a new staff, and that's why I feel like this process this year was so important. And I recognize how far it's come with what our staff knows, both about grade level expectations for their grade, as well as where their kids are right now. And as we're talking, we're already generating some ideas for how to improve for next year. And that's part of the teaching and learning process, as well as part of the continuous improvement process we're a part of. We do have, and Mr. Walbridge indicated this, very diverse student experiences and needs. And there's a strength to that, which means there's not just one weakness, but the challenge is having one person fit all of them. And that's where some of the additional support staff will help our teachers, because if a teacher's not hitting that area of need, somebody else may be able to support the child. Additionally, we're continuing to work on an understanding of the concepts. We've begun with a consistent sight word series in the grades pre-K to 2 that extends up to grade 6 as well, and different skills that are within the standards. And our students certainly are bringing in strengths and certainly have areas to grow. One of the things we've also done is we've created an inventory sheet that outlines what's being used where, and a piece of this does include when the curriculum will transition. So there's not going to be another time frame, at least from what I could see, where all of a sudden we're going to have to spend a whole bunch of money on new curriculum. The curriculum purchases right now are staggered accordingly, which is a great thing, both for consistency and backfilling any gaps that are present, as well as just money-wise and expenditures. Yeah, and we are meeting with our BOCES folks, and to give you an idea of the curriculum programs we've adopted, Into Math came in for grades K-5, and the Read Side-by-Side program for grades 4 to 6. Consensus maps are built, and we are adding pre-kindergarten into the scope of the work. And while that was originally triggered by the attestation we'll have to submit to the state, I can tell you, having worked with the teachers around the pre-kindergarten briefs, as well as in literacy briefs, as well as watching the videos with them and talking about instruction, those pieces are really good support for them to learn the practice and art of instruction. Yeah, here's an example of a map from a classroom here, and you can see certain aspects that are highlighted within it. I picked this particular, you can see with a magnifying glass. I picked this map because there is a lot of cross-standard instruction that takes place. So one of my underlying goals is to get those people together to talk about that. So the kid hears it and sees it in one space, moves to another, hears it and sees it again. That's one of the big indicators for transferable learning and for creating understanding, as well as the support network to help the student. And then looking forward, I've been looking a lot at the multi-year assessment trends that Mr. Walbridge has indicated, both across our iReady and benchmark data, as well as across our state level data, to figure out the consistencies that each cohort has. And we really want to reprioritize and focus on standards, both where we're having success as well as we're having challenges. That will help support our kids where they're doing well as backfill and give them the things they need at younger grades to be successful in high school. We are working to integrate the resources we have, and we feel very fortunate to have a lot of different resources here in the school among our colleagues. And then we are following the guidance and recommendations, both from the literacy attestation that will be submitted to the state September 1st, as well as the portrait of a graduate, which is coming down the road. And for that, we're going to have to look to develop what are the characteristics of a graduate that comes from St. Regis Falls. For the high school folks last week, we sat and began to brainstorm, and we had a lot of strengths around things like conversation, communication, social emotional learning. And then we had some areas such as the civic piece and global awareness, where we saw as opportunities to grow. And they certainly are for every kid here and across the North Country. And then we're looking to use our professional learning time to plan, adjust, and adapt. That's it. Any questions?
Sounds great. Sounds very promising.
Yeah, so there's lots of good things happening for sure, but it's also a work in progress, as lots of things are.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. I just want to state transparently that we did no rehearsing, so I haven't had time to. But as you can tell, and I commend both Mrs. Zulu and Mrs. Cruikshank, they're already taking a deep dive into some of the conversation. They're already taking deep. That's a good thing. That's a very good thing. So I'm going to get to the third topic. I'll be brief with this one. So Mr. Witkowski asked for a meeting, and I certainly welcomed that meeting. We go back. I remember when he came into the superintendent's meeting, excited after this school was completed in 2001 for superintendent. And about 10 o'clock, faculty, staff, and parents to participate in the Town of Waverly cleanup. It's going to be held on Saturday, May 17th at 10 a.m. And I've shared this invitation, or will tomorrow. I didn't get to that, Donna. You're my check and balance. But we'll send that email out tomorrow to all of our entire faculty and staff. Additionally, I've shared Mr. Witkowski's invitation with our Junior and Senior National Honor Society and Student Council through its advisors, and ironically enough, they're both here tonight, Pam Susi and Peter Crowley, respectively. So I think that's exciting. Our kids do step it up. The Student Council, as I mentioned in my few words, not few words from the superintendent, but superintendent notes, because they certainly weren't a few words. But in those notes, I remarked on how the Student Council asked to meet with us on where the days might be recommended to the board for consideration for additional vacation days. So, they're actively involved, and, that's the way student government should occur. Did let them know that I was a Student Council advisor for 11 years while I was up here. Of course, Don was one of my presidents. So the second topic conversation between Mr. Witkowski and me revolved around the bus garage lease agreement. Ernie informed me that prior to the communication breakdown during this past school year, that the Town of Waverly board wanted $26,000 to lease the town garage to store our buses. However, due to miscommunication, the amount for the 24-25 school year remained at $25,000. And of that $25,000, the district owes and will pay $10,416.69. And to completely resolve this matter moving forward into the 25-26 school year, Mr. Witkowski proposes the following. One, for the 25-26 school year, the rental fee for storing our buses in the Town of Waverly garage would be $27,000 instead of the $26,000 that was discussed when I first arrived in my current leadership role. He mentioned that in the absence of no communication or whatever, he could invoke as the town supervisor that amount. So the second thing he said, if the amended 24-25 contract amount of $26,000 is agreed to, then the rental fee will once again be $26,000 for the 2025-26 school year. Unless the board objects, Stephen Peck and I prefer to have the contract amended for 24-25, reflecting the amount to be $26,000 with another $26,000 for the 25-26 school year. And if this arrangement is agreed upon, we would be paying not $10,416.69, but we'd be paying $11,416.69. And unless there's no objection from the board, I would communicate accordingly with Mr. Witkowski as early as tomorrow, and then ask him to send us an amended contract for this year, and I would sign it. And then I would propose at our next meeting to have the 25-26 contract approved. And then subsequent to your approval, then I would sign it on behalf of the district, if that's okay.
Anybody?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Lisa.
I'm just confused that what was it that we originally thought the 24-25 school year was?
I wasn't here, but I think, was it 25,000 probably?
So the original
We
contract
always
was written for 26,000. However, because there was no agreement met, we're forced to invoke the clause to maintain service where we would continue on the current contract that was signed in 2024. Hence the reason why we're only obligated to 25,000. Now, as Wayne said, we've been in communication with Ernie to resolve that, as was our intention at the beginning of the year. So that's where this conversation essentially stemmed from.
I
Okay,
don't know if you heard
I
them,
don't
Lisa.
understand why
They initially requested 26. We always knew it was 26 from the start.
okay,
Yep. And
okay, so we were only lacking giving them 1,000, not 10,000. Is that correct? I'm confused with that 10,000.
Well,
because we do like, the payment gets split, half the year and half, or into, yeah,
Yeah.
Pay them monthly installments, but the 10,000 figures half the year's worth of payments.
yeah, half the year.
we owe them for the last half of the year, and we haven't given them that check yet. Ernie understands that. He knew it would be forthcoming, but he thought this would be an opportune time to resolve this matter. And our preference is to have the contract reflect what it should have originally. Had there been appropriate communication back and forth. So we'll pay $11,416.69. That'll complete the 24-25 amended agreed upon contract. And then next year, it'll be another 26,000.
Okay, so instead of paying an even, split it in half, how is 25,000 only 10,000?
Well, I think, I'll let Stephen, but my take is that, there was a little holdup when I got back here. There was a holdup in the payments. And I think that's how it probably got kind of out of balance.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the $10,000 figure is just the outstanding balance based on the entire $25,000 figure. So if
Okay.
we add $1,000 to it, that would make the contract amount whole.
Okay, so going forward, we're gonna pay 2 payments of a split cost of 13,000 each. Is that,
No, so we'll complete the overall accounting for 26,000 for the full fiscal year. And then we would pay based on the new contract that we would sign for the following fiscal year.
okay, so we'll pay that in full at the beginning of the year or something?
We will work that out in the contract talks. It'll be clearly stated.
Thing is an additional 1,000 based on the $1,000.
What, Lisa?
So what we're paying now is an additional 1,000.
It's the,
I lost you.
it's in the beginning for the 24-25 school year.
Okay,
Yep, and for whatever reason, we did not agree to it. We said we'd pay the 25, which was the 23-24 contract from the previous year. It got held up, which was what created kind of the animosity between the bus garage and the school.
Hmm.
So now we're kind of not backpedaling, but going back and saying, hey, we should have done the 26 from the beginning. So we're paying the 1,000, which brings us up to the 26 that they initially requested. And then they're saying that next year they're not going to raise it up to 27. We'll stay at 26 again.
perfect. Okay,
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so.
thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
The last part, and some of this you've heard before, but with the support of our business official, Stephen Peck, Amanda, Kate, I'm recommending your approval to adopt the proposed 25-26 budget. As I stated at the 318 budget workshop and our regular Board of Education meeting, we feel the budget is responsible, cost-effective, and sustainable. And I think, hearing Amanda give a report, with the additional resources, I think we'll make some additional, progress without question. The only outstanding decision that you will have to make prior to adopting the 25-26 budget is to decide how much fund balance to apply to it to offset the tax levy. We're aware there's some hesitation by a few of you whether or not to use the maximum allowable tax levy per the property tax cap formula in the amount of $95,640 or 3.04% to offset the local tax levy. And of course, I go back with this a long time. Unfortunately, when the property tax formula was first enacted into legislation, it was erroneously called a 2% property tax cap. In reality, this is not so because the property tax formula takes into consideration multiple factors such as exclusions and the consumer price index, which almost each budget development year doesn't equal 2%. Sometimes formula favors the taxpayers as the cap is less than 2%. However, other times it benefits the school district as it allows us to raise the tax levy above 2%, such as it is with the 25-26 proposed school budget. Something that I know that Mr. Farmer alluded to, we all need to keep in mind is the fact that Mr. Peck has a potential capital building project. Hopefully it'll come around in 2029 because believe it or not, this building will be 28 years old. And Mr. Farmer's points, well taken about the building condition survey because it will identify a number of renovations, a number of repairs that we should consider as part of a capital project in the future to maintain this beautiful building. Also, something that could be in the works, a new playground could be part of that scope of work. So a key part of Stevens' financial strategy is to rather significantly build up our capital reserve fund. The purpose of this strategy is to hopefully place the district in a position to complete a capital project around 2029. It'll probably get started then, it won't get finished then, with very little to no impact on the local tax levy. By the way, with our state aid building aid ratio, which is 77.75%, this is one of the few ways in which a school district can maximize state aid. The other way to maximize state aid is through your BOCES aid, which we've done for the past few years. So we'll continue to try to position ourselves to maximize our state aid as much as is possible. I do want to commend my first time working with Stephen in the budget development process. I do want to commend him for doing an exemplary job leading us through this process. His budget development notes that accompany the figures contained in our fiscal 2026 general aid fund made our proposed 25-26 budget document easy to follow and understand. I appreciate his work guiding us through what can be a difficult budget process of some budget development seasons. I think that we've been fortunate this year based on, I went to 6 budget development work sessions alone and we had to cut nearly $3 million out of a $72 million budget. So, and I don't know how you're going to change the agenda, Maggie, but Stephen will have an opportunity, however you do it, to have dialogue and have his final comments and answer any questions that you might have before you get to the point where you vote on approval to adopt the 25-26 spending plan. So like it was back in the classroom, Donna, I've been long-winded tonight. I apologize.
Stay long-winded and just keep up the good work.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Walbridge.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. We are going to move executive session up before the consent agenda. I will make a motion that we enter into executive session to discuss contractual negotiations related to 2 of our employee groups. Motion. Rick seconds. Discussion.
Why can't we discuss those? I thought they were ratified.
They were ratified by each group. And what has to happen now is the board has to approve and formally approve those 2 contracts. But yes, both employee groups did ratify those contracts,
So
so,
we cannot discuss them publicly until we ratify them.
well, and technically, you could only make probably global comments anyway. So, and so when we go to executive session, I'd encourage you to bring your packets, because on the right side, Donna has given you the proposed differences in both the non-instructional contract and the teacher's contract. And, I can quickly go over those with you if you have any questions. I'll answer them, and we'll come back and continue our meeting.
I made the motion, Rick seconded.
Thank you.
Yes. Lisa, I'll FaceTime you.
Okay.
All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. We will enter into executive session at 6:51 PM.
And I told Mr. Peck be available in case you had any questions of him
For sure.
regarding the monetary aspect. We don't follow that global stuff.
Same shirt.
We like this.
I don't know, it's not
Wait a minute, I'll take this out. Well, I like 5 minutes.
Jack, we just do student council today.
Yeah.
We had a representative from Albany talk about the drive.
She did a nice presentation. Kids have questions.
I wish I had one. But,
Jack, do you have a report for today?
Not any,
And-
yeah, no, I could mention a couple points,
They,
but there was
uh,
nothing that substantial.
talked about the
And this
dance.
looked like a big enough meeting, but I didn't wanna talk everyone's ear off.
The student council is doing separate
Yep,
dance
Wednesday
from
for
7 to 12
Yep.
on the last.
Okay, well, I was signaling to Donna across the room.
Oh. I think they come up with photographs where I would get into the numbers.
Yeah.
It's really fun to- Point and cleanup day.
All right.
With flexibility. And that's why I've been hosted 3 kids home, stuff like that.
So Amanda, make sure that.
And in a big global, it was a big deal. Especially if actually, that's the biggest thing to say. I got.
Yeah, I took a couple seconds to figure it out too. So I'm like,
Yeah, there's a.
And then what I see is so much, but especially when you
Is there some months that I'm
Well, is it gonna
hard to, I'm not existing for me to do it because, you know, maybe you can't Yeah, no, you were,
I went forward it
you were there.
on these.
That's your job.
Yeah, which
To a point, but.
I've explained it, on multiple sides where I understand, points that you're bringing up, and I live too.
I think so, because
Yeah.
I think they said it was, allowable. I think it's okay.
But if they
Because
just.
I'm I've watched my, not times, I don't know, a little bit more.
I have to make sure,
Yeah.
this is like a setting, but I think that's really.
Well, yeah, the assessments
The
are.
assessments are- So now you're getting nailed. So it's like,
Yeah.
No, I do understand.
if you don't control that, it's gonna be,
Yeah.
for the amount, it does a lot of damage, actually. Because taxpayers already paying it.
So you're talking about this
late,
Although, well,
Usually they're
Yeah,
better
just
because
Colin
they
Stout,
have-
or McKnight's over in the Chamberlain corner.
okay,
I'm looking for you, Matt.
I made motion, Dar seconded, 7-0. We exited at 7:55.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we're back. So we're gonna let Stephen do his budget presentation.
yeah, it's
First.
fun commentary, yep. And, any questions or any possible, revisions or whatever?
Looking to see if we were still muted on the live stream. First and foremost, thank you everybody for the time and effort that you've taken on examining this year's budget. I did create a Word document for you guys to kind of help you understand the core differences between the fluctuations and numbers that we've had. I know I was looking at the word count at the bottom and I rolled my eyes a little bit. Sometimes. So, for the effort that you take in reviewing that, I do thank you. A couple of quick highlights that I did want to point out. This year with the current staffing proposal, the overall increase in staff looks like we're about 6% for overall increase in finances, that's salary and benefits included. Overall budget change, again, 6%, $600,000 for the proposal. Staffing alone this year, $380,000 difference if you're looking at the actual dollar figure. The overall increase itself, leading into some of the information that we are looking into tonight. That's where that core information comes from, assuming that we are approving contracts later in this budget. One of the core concerns that I have in terms of revenue, I did want to point out was, and I did provide a quick snippet of the revenue proposal as well. Transportation aid, I want to be cognizant of moving forward. We do have a higher number this year than we would between standard years because we did purchase the bus cash. So we are realizing some of that money back this year from last year's expenditures, which is going to be a single year anomaly. So I wouldn't expect to see that core number come back next year. So when we're anticipating future revenues, I do want to be cognizant of that number because that may lead into fund balance in future years as well. The proposal that you have in front of you uses about $100,000 of revenue funding. I did estimate based on the current information with max levy, $350,000 of fund balance to be utilized to offset some of the costs that we would use in the event of certain expenditures popping up that would be difficult to anticipate. It's been a long journey, so I do want to open it up for everybody here for the opportunity to ask certain questions that they may have or any concerns. I'm not sure if the overall concern itself is rooted in revenue or if it's rooted in expenditure, but I would open some of that information up to you guys.
So, thank you for all your efforts. Thank you for the notes. I think that it's revenue related. I think to echo some of the things that Randy said, there are many good things about the budget, certainly the teachers and those things that apply to that. But you've mentioned some things in your notes that just impact me in a way to want to cap the tax levy at 1.5. And I'm hoping that we can work through that and keep the sustainability that you speak of that we're striving for.
So I believe the notes that Nick is referring to, some of my targets do include the end of year figures with the fund balance. I do anticipate a surplus this year of roughly about $200,000, just to put that forward. With the current fund balance figure that we have right now, being 1.6, that puts us at 1.8. Again, all these notes are scribed in that document for you. I do have plans for the capital project that we lead into in 2025, hence the reason for a proposition later on this agenda of a capital project with a north cap of $10 million. Of course, I will add that we do not anticipate to reach that number. That would be a very difficult number to reach without a lot of funny play involved, which I do not intend to put forward. It's just recommended that we put that number out there. The main reason for the current funding levels that I have with the capital project is to offset future taxpayer liability as much as I possibly can. The current proposal, based on estimations I have right now, is $750,000, I believe it is. That number will change, could possibly change towards the June recommendation. If we appropriate the $350,000 that I have listed in front of you, I believe that quick math puts us somewhere in the realm of a 7 to 6% fund balance at the end of this year. I know that's been a discussion point with the OSC audit's recommendation of 4%. So I leave that decision up to you guys with any future information that you may want to add. I am in support of the direction that you want to take. Of course, whether that be 1.5 or the full 3.04, I would, of course, recommend the 3.04 just based on current structure of revenue. However, I am willing to explore other options.
Stephen, can you explain how the 750 cap reserve funding, which is what I think we were contemplating for this budget, how does it change to this 10 million idea? That's tough to see that number, and especially, again, pointed out that we've got the 5-year review coming up and we can't quantify these things well at this moment. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me to put that number out there.
Absolutely. So the $10 million cap is just, again, a northern figure that we cannot reach. That way we don't have a northern cap that we will be able to hit. I did contemplate lowering that number to 5 million just for the scope of, shock value, which again, I do understand. That was the recommendation that was put in front of me.
No, I think that's good.
I just want to touch on the buses just so that this is out there in public knowledge and that we are not planning for electric buses in the 25 to 26 budget. The money that is allocated for the buses is for your standard bus. I don't know if Stephen wants to speak on this, but there was a call from Dan Steck for schools to respond. Are you going to be buying these electric buses or not? And our response was no. The grid does not support it. We do not have the infrastructure to support it, so we will be purchasing regular buses. So,
Absolutely.
Can we add one thing to that?
Go ahead.
The possibility of an electric Suburban to just get a sense of these things that was proposed previously. Can that run without the infrastructure, et cetera?
That would be a much lesser impact on the grid itself. I believe that would be much more sustainable. However, it would require grid modification. Now, the EV study that we had, that we would have to revisit. I have been given offers from NYSERDA to revisit the feasibility study, which I do intend to take so that we can continue to meet New York State guideline regarding the EV mandate. And I will report on that in future instances. However, I'm willing to delay the, assuming that proposition passes. I will point that out first. Assuming that proposition passes, we would be able to modify the request for proposal to suit such needs. So I would be willing to explore that. I did reply back to Mr. Steck's constituent. We do not have the capacity to purchase an EV bus. Point blank. We have one run that would be capable of suiting an EV bus once per day, and that run alone. If we were to have 2 EV buses, we would still need a diesel bus to supplement a midday run. So it would be next to useless to have 2 EV buses for us. And of course, we know that cost alone is near $1 million for 2 EV buses. So I sent that communication back to Mr. Sex's office. Hopefully they take it with a grain of salt, because we are a highly impoverished area that just can't sustain something like that. So I hope that they relay that back up to the Albany offices, and they rethink their mandate in 2027, but we will be cognizant of New York state law as well.
So, Stephen, if I understood what you just said, can we get the approval for the Suburban and then choose to move it to electric one after? Or do we need to say that? Yeah.
So the proposal that I put in front of the voters for May allows us to purchase cash a Suburban up to $65,000. Chances are we can find a Suburban for under $65,000 with EV mandates, but I would explore that for you. I would explore the EV concept when it comes to the Suburban.
I mean, I think we're all just hoping that the mandate won't, the law isn't going to pass
Yeah.
in the long run, so.
Realistically, the revenue matchup with the bonding itself would become bottom heavy after the 8th year, and it would be impossible to keep up with.
Anybody else?
Is this budget, does it have any cuts like we had to last year? Like, we wouldn't have the senior class coming to us looking for us to vote if they could take the bus to Syracuse for their senior trip or something?
No,
or-
I have budgeted back in for field trips,
Okay.
sports travel, advisors, chaperones, that's all in there.
All right.
Yes. We don't have any positional cuts as well. I don't know if that is an additional thing you're referring to. We're actually looking to add support staff. But no, we look to add some of those core things back in that we were sorely missing this year, for sure. We've had multiple conversations, and I do believe we actually were allowed to exceed that spending location in multiple points, because those were core functions that we really lost, and the students we didn't want to put them in a position where they had to go with that.
Okay.
Sure.
Yep.
Lisa? You good?
She said she was good.
Oh, okay.
I saw her head nod.
Sorry, my thing, when I got on, it said it muted me. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Sound good?
Thanks, Steven.
Absolutely.
Thanks for all your work on that. Really appreciate it. All right. We're gonna move on to the consent agenda. Oh, let's see here. Okay, I would make an omnibus motion to approve consent agendas numbers 1 through 4 and numbers 7 through 12. We are going to vote separately on numbers 5 and 6. So an omnibus motion to approve numbers 1 through 4, as well as numbers 7 through 12. Nick seconds. Discussion.
We're just discussing the buses.
Yeah, and do you want to touch on contracts at all?
Well, I can open up. We were very fortunate in a 7-day period to be able to negotiate both our San Francisco Falls Instructional Association contract and our San Francisco Falls United Teachers Association contract. They were seamless negotiations from my perspective. I thought it was a win-win. There was give and take on both sides. And I think that we have some excellent contracts moving forward to be able to, have it be enticing to work here at San Francisco Falls. And we're hopeful to retain the people that we have. So I think we have a strong teacher's contract. And I appreciate, Mrs. Susi, I appreciate Mr. Ciccinelli, Ms. Bailey, and all the people that worked on the negotiating teams. Appreciate the input from Amanda and Kate. And I have wireless expectations that we would be able to have two contracts come together in, one Thursday on the 13th of March and the next one, the teacher's contract on the 20th. And, we have, deep appreciation for our non-instructional staff and obviously for our teachers. And Mrs. Zula was mentioning some of the strides that they've made. I know that Mr. Cruikshank appreciates working with our teachers. So I think it's a good situation here. I think adopting the budget with 5 new instructional positions of the 8 that we lost last year, approving 2 contracts, speaks well and sets us up in a positive way for the new superintendent to take over. And I'm very pleased. So I don't know if Nick and Don got anything you want to say, but feel free.
Yeah, dated last meeting and also an executive, and it just went very well. And hope it's a very positive stride for the future here.
And with everything we've been through in the last 2 years, it was really refreshing to see people that want to just go forward. We can't go back. We can't redo it. It's done. Let's go forward and see how we can make this place a better place. And with everybody working together, it was impressive. I've been on a lot of negotiations, and it was just a really impressive round. I'm really pleased with the way it came out.
And I'd be remiss not to thank Mr. Peck. He was the monetary brains behind the outfit, and he was able to cost out proposals, and and it worked out very well. And he was always well prepared for us when we caucused, and we certainly appreciated it.
And I wasn't a real HR person, and I am now, because those 2 women in the room made a big difference in how things were done.
That's good. Anybody else? No? All right, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Now we are on number 5, approval of proposed 25 to 26 budget and property tax report card. I will be making a motion, Stephen, to amend the budget and property tax report card. We would like to amend the local tax levy from the 3.04 down to a 1.5%, using the appropriate reserves to do so. Other than that, that's the only change we'll be making.
So may I ask, the core expenditures itself are not moving, the only difference is going to be with the levy itself?
Correct. Yes. Yes. Yep. So contingent to that change, Stephen?
Feel free, I'll get your support for you soon.
Okay. Should we amend this or? No, the tax report card.
Well, I think that Stephen will do that, right, Stephen?
Okay.
I will amend the report card and then attach it.
Yep.
I believe as long as we notate the fact that the local levy is modifying 1.5% overall increase,
Okay.
I can reflect the support and add it with it.
Okay. Perfect. So, I need to read this whole thing, correct?
Probably, the amount of the budget.
Okay. So whereas the Board of Education of the St. Andrews Falls Central School District has developed a proposed budget for the operations of the school district for the 25 to 26 school year, and whereas the total amount of the proposed budget developed for the 25 to 26 school year is $10,394,747, and whereas attached to the 25 to 26 proposed budget is the school district's property tax report card for the 25 to 26 school year. And whereas the budget hearing on the proposed budget is scheduled for Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. And whereas the annual meeting to vote upon the proposed budget is scheduled for Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. Now therefore be it resolved that the board hereby approves the proposed budget developed for the 25 to 26 school year in the amount of $10,394,747, along with a property tax report card attached thereto. And be it further resolved that the following proposition be placed before the voters on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. Shall the Board of Education of the St. Andrews Falls School District be authorized to expend the amount of $10,394,747 as a general fund appropriation for the 25 to 26 school year and to levy the necessary tax therefore upon the taxable property of the district?
And I believe that's gonna be a roll call vote.
Okay.
Pretty much.
So, okay,
So that's with amendments.
With the amendment, yes.
to the property tax report card, right?
To the property tax report card, yes.
All right, so we'll do the roll call then. We'll start with Roderick. Dar,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Donna.
Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to number 6, approval of the capital reserve proposition. Again, we are going to be amending this, Stephen. We are not comfortable with the shock value of the $10 million. I think we're not comfortable with the shock value even of the $5 million. We'd like the capital reserve. We're okay with moving the $750,000, but capital reserves $750,000 to $1.5 million.
1.5 million north and value.
Yep.
And
Pending
Pending budget. or
Pending the-
approval.
building
Conditions.
condition survey.
I will make whatever you guys tell me to do.
Meeting with the student.
All right, so can I change this wording, amend the wording? That was the only part. Okay, be it resolved by the Board of Education of the St. Andrews Falls School District as follows. Section 1, the proposition hereinafter set forth is hereby authorized to be submitted for the approval of the qualified voters of the district on the 20th day of May 2025. The vote, Section 2, the proposition set forth below shall be submitted at the vote, and the district clerk shall include notice of the proposition in substantially the following form in the notice of the vote. Notice is hereby further given that at the vote to be held on May 20th, 2025, the following proposition will be submitted. Proposition: resolved, the Board of Education of the San Andreas Falls Central School District is hereby authorized to establish a capital reserve fund pursuant to section 3651 of the Education Law to be designated 2025 Capital Reserve Fund, created to defray the cost of the construction, reconstruction, and equipping of school district buildings, facilities, and land, including original equipment, machinery, apparatus, appurtenances, furnishings, land acquisitions, and other incidental improvements and expenses in connection therewith, and in order to accomplish the same. The board is hereby authorized to establish the ultimate amount of such reserve fund to $1.5 million, inclusive of accrued interest and other investment earnings, with a probable term of 10 years. The Board of Education is hereby authorized to pay funds from the available fund balance, state aid reimbursement to the school district on account of capital projects, such other monies as the voters may direct, and or other legally available funds of the school district to such reserve fund in an amount determined by the Board of Education up to the maximum authorized amount. Whew. Discussion? Discussion, roll call again?
Okay,
Yes.
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 Donna and Lisa.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. And we are on to personnel. Nick had to step out. I'm gonna give him 1 minute. Actually, I'm gonna read through personnel while he's out. There we go. Okay. Personnel, under A, resignations, we have one Justin Bartholomew, position from varsity girls softball coach. The purpose for that is that we unfortunately did not have enough student interest to make a team this year. B, appointments, one Nina Haverstock to the position of teaching assistant at a rate of pay of step 10 of the SRF Teachers Association agreement with an effective date of September 1st of 2025. Number 2, Susan Plumidor to the position of school annual election poll inspector at a rate of pay of $16 per hour, not to exceed 10 hours, with an effective date of May 20th, 2025, from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. Number 3, Linda Sweet to the position of school annual election poll inspector at a rate of pay of $16 per hour, not to exceed 10 hours, with an effective date of May 20th, 2025, from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. Number 4, Emma Thomas for the position of probationary appointment of elementary teacher, anticipated tenure date of March 26, 2029 in the tenure area of elementary education, at a rate of pay of BA Step 1 of the SRF Teachers Association agreement, effective date retroactively effective on March 27, 2025. Number 5, Justin Bartholomew to the position of boys varsity baseball assistant coach at a rate of pay as per Step 2, which is 6 years of experience of the SRF United Teachers Association agreement, with an effective date of the 24 to 25 season. Letter C, substitutes. Number 1, Christine Gohl to the position of substitute uncertified teacher at a rate of pay as per the 24 to 25 approved substitute rates, with an effective date of April 16th of 2025. Number 2, Darcy Moore to the position of long-term substitute teacher at a rate of pay of $270 per day, with an effective date of April 21st, 2025 to May 30th of 2025. E, approvals. Number 1, Gabriel North to the position of social worker, purpose of internship, with an effective date of 25 to 26 school year. Number 2, Allison Sturgeon The item of 6 weeks extension to leave of absence for a purpose of leave of absence with an effective date of April 21st, 25 to May 30th, 25. Number 3, Lynn Potter Damon. The item is to rescind resignation of June 30th, 25. The purpose is to rescind resignation with an effective date of April 15th, 2025. And number 4, Nicole Wagner, a one-time stipend of $1,100 for the purpose of additional work with an effective date of the remainder of the 24 to 25 school year. Can I have a motion to approve? Misty made the motion. Rick seconds. Discussion.
Mr. Walbridge, what's the stipend for Nicole Wagner? What work was that?
As a result of a CSE referral through the annual reviews, we have services that have to be provided to another student. And she's going to do this every other day, user prep period. And in the teacher's contract for an entire year, if they do an additional course, it's $7,000. And taking the number of sessions, then prorating it because it's every other day, not every day, it came out to right around $1,100. So, that's what she's willing to do. And, that's commendable because that's her prep time, but we're a small district. And those are the needs that came out of the annual CSE reviews. So the service will be provided. That's where the mail comes from.
My other question is the assistant.
Boys varsity.
I don't recall that being in the.
We haven't had one. We haven't had one. That's why I asked that it be non-precedent setting.
Because it's not in that.
Right.
What's the word?
Yeah.
It's not
He,
in that list.
Because, the fact that he was coaching the softball, he did his practices for 3 weeks, and all of a sudden he doesn't have enough players to field a team. We thought that it would be beneficial. We got 13 or 14 baseball players, and thought having another person there, especially coaching first base, having an adult rather than a player there, would be important. The other thing is our baseball players will get more individualized attention. It's non-precedent setting, and we were already set to pay him that amount for softball. No boys modified, no boys girls softball.
So step 6 of the he-do.
He's got coaching experience. That's where I came from.
So that's not on the extracurricular schedule, though, correct?
No, it isn't.
It isn't. So.
That's why I say it's non-precedent setting. It's not something.
So are you creating a new position? That's what I'm asking, I guess, or is that something you're just doing this for a year?
1 year period. Yeah. Good question.
I just.
Yeah. I hear you.
Usually you do, like you have the volunteers, you know what I mean? And we had to go through a lot of hoops to get volunteers, but now you're hiring an assistant, so, okay, I understand. I don't agree with it, but I understand.
You understand the extenuating circumstance?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's bad. I've been there, done that myself, so had a season start and stop because you don't have enough kids, so. All right, thank you.
I respect your position.
Yep, for the explanation. Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-1 with Donna being opposed. F. Go ahead, Randy.
Well, I thank everybody here tonight. This has been a unique year, as Don playing my back. God knows I'm willing to do that. But I do want to, thank, Ms. Zero when she talks about the students and creating the curriculum. It's just, she does it with confidence. It makes you feel like you're moving forward to help these kids. That we're not just getting some lip talk and stuff like that. So I do appreciate how you come across and your actions in doing that. You know, Mr. Walbridge, you know, here you go again, and hopefully you don't come back. But
Right.
you need to be on vacation with your wife.
I agree with you 100%.
But your knowledge base, I mean, it always adds, you know, and that's what we do. You know, so, Steve, he understands the accounting web, and a little spider post thing here, it affects other places.
That was
He does a great job. And finally, the board, I can say as well, you know, the diverse backgrounds that you guys are bringing is fantastic. And my hope is that you have this foundation and that you will be here for years to come, because building upon experience is the best thing that can happen in school. We have so much movement all the time with the board. That's when we run an issue, turn to come back, we can build upon. That's how the school's gonna get better, by having that base. So thanks, everybody. I think you did a great job this year. That's my report card for my year of coming to meetings.
Thanks, Randy.
I don't know about that.
Okay,
The coffee's still good, maybe.
board comments. Anybody? Thanks for coming, everybody.
Have a good night.
Motion to adjourn.
Donna made the motion to adjourn. I'll second. Discussion? Done. All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Meeting is adjourned at, oh, my phone died.
33.
8:33 p.m.
Thank you all.
My trip is May. No, Memorial Day weekend. Yep. So that is, I believe we're leaving the 23rd and getting back the 27th. Yeah.
They're not creating
Or the
that.
27th. No one get back the 26th.
I do, yep. There's a little application.
Previous years it was much higher. This year's been middle of the road. I just participated. It's totally decent.
Okay.
And we can always respect
Courses.
to disagree.
Yep, absolutely.
Because they all have different perspectives.
There's an application. I can
I'm work.
Do you have?
I did a work,
Yes.
at work, we were surrounded by,
Oh, yeah, no, I'll make sure that.
I try to stay with them, which I think also
You and Lauren's gonna wear the same shirt next month too, Randy? Same exact shirt. Like, exactly.
We did. He asked me, is that a meeting?
Did you guys plan that? What do you
We're like, hey, just so you know, we're cousins. We're not that worldly.
You have similar tastes. You're just a couple of dudes that like that bean.
That's why he didn't take his coat off. I took that one off.
Oh, he didn't take his coat off because he was like, oh shit.
Okay,
Just so you know.
okay, so you took it, you took the other
So
one out.
the other one's still there, we have to get rid of it.
Okay, okay,
I put the new one that they just approved.
okay.
I didn't wanna mess around with
Thanks,
things too
Steven.
much.
Yeah.
They work quickly, just talk.